My name is Daniel Harper, and I'm 45 years old. I used to think that was a good age, a solid age. The kind where you've got enough years behind you to know who you are, but enough ahead to still dream a little. I had a wife, Lisa, and two kids, Ethan, 12, and Sophie, 9. We live in a quiet little house in suburban Ohio, with a maple tree out front that turned red every fall like clockwork. I taught history at the community college, and Lisa, she was an art professor at the university downtown. Life felt steady, like a boat on calm water. Until it wasn't. It started with a phone. Hers, not mine. I wasn't even looking for trouble that night, just reaching for the charger on her side of the bed while she was in the shower. The screen lit up with a text. Miss you already, babe. Last night was incredible. No name, just a number. My stomach dropped, like that feeling you get when you miss a step going downstairs. I stared at it, the words burning into my eyes. Babe, last night, she told me she was at a faculty meeting. Said it ran late. Said she crashed at her friend Karen's place because she didn't want to drive tired. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? I didn't confront her right away. I'm not that guy. Or at least, I didn't think I was. I put the phone back, watched the screen go dark, and lay there in bed, listening to the water running in the bathroom. My mind raced. Who was he? How long? Was it just once? Every question stabbed deeper, but I kept my face blank when she came out, hair wet, smiling like nothing was wrong. You okay, Dan? She asked, climbing under the covers. I nodded. Just tired, I said. My voice sounded normal. How did it sound normal? The next few days, I watched her. Every move, every word. She'd kiss Ethan's forehead before school, braid Sophie's hair, laugh at my lame jokes over dinner. It was all so perfect. Too perfect. I started digging, quietly, methodically. I checked her laptop when she was asleep. Found emails. Dozens of them. Some guy named Ryan. A colleague, she'd said once. Just a friend. The emails weren't friendly. They were plans. Dates. Lies she told me to cover her tracks. My chest tightened as I read them, sitting there in the dark with the glow of the screen lighting up my shaking hands. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat there, feeling something cold settle in, like ice forming over a lake. Lisa had betrayed me. After 15 years, 2 kids, a life built together, she'd thrown it away. For what? Some thrill? Some guy who probably didn't even know Ethan's favorite superhero or Sophie's bedtime story. I closed the laptop, and in that moment, I stopped being the Daniel Harper who trusted, who loved, who forgave. I became someone else. Someone who wanted her to hurt like I was hurting. That's when I started thinking about revenge. Not the loud kind, no screaming matches or slam doors. No, I wanted something sharper. Something that had cut her deep, right where she'd cut me. And then I remembered Emily. Emily Carter, 21 years old, bright-eyed, one of Lisa's star students. She'd come over once for a project, sat at our kitchen table sketching while Lisa critiqued her work. I noticed her then, how young she was, how eager. How Lisa talked about her like she was some prodigy. Perfect, I thought. Absolutely perfect. I couldn't stop thinking about Emily. She was a shadow in my mind, flitting around the edges of every thought. It wasn't about her, not really. She was just a tool, a blade I could wield. But the idea of her, that was the spark. Lisa loved her students, lived for them, she'd say. They're the future, Dan, she'd tell me over coffee, her eyes all lit up. Emily was her pride, her little masterpiece. What better way to twist the knife than to take that from her? I didn't rush it. I'm not impulsive, never have been. History's taught me that the best victories come from patience, from planning. So I started small. Emily came up in conversation one night, casual as anything. How's that girl doing, the one with the sketches? I asked, stirring my soup like it didn't matter. Lisa perked up, oblivious. Emily? Oh, she's brilliant. Turned in a piece last week that could hang in a gallery someday. I nodded, filed it away. Brilliant, huh? Good. The next day, I looked her up. Not hard to do. Lisa's syllabus was online, and Emily's name was all over the university's art page. She had a portfolio linked, digital sketches, paintings, all sharp lines and bold colors. I scrolled through it at my desk, the kids' chatter from the living room a distant hum. She was talented, I'd give her that, Young, ambitious, impressionable. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. This could work. I needed a way in. Couldn't just show up at her dorm or whatever. She'd think I was some creep. No, it had to be natural, organic. I remembered Lisa mentioning a guest lecture, something about interdisciplinary studies. Art and history crossing paths. She'd asked me weeks ago to speak to her class, but I'd brushed it off. Too busy, I'd said. No. Now it sounded like an opportunity. I texted Lisa that night, "Hey, about that lecture, think I could still do it?" She replied fast, "Really? That'd be amazing. I'll set it up. Hook, line, sinker." The lecture was a week later. I stood in front of Lisa's class, 20-something kids, half asleep, half doodling, and there she was, Emily. Second row, blonde hair pulled back, pencil tapping her notebook. She looked attentive, curious. I talked about the Renaissance, about how art and history collide, but my eyes kept drifting to her. Lisa stood in the back, beaming, proud of me, proud of her class. It made my skin crawl, her pride. She didn't deserve it. Afterward, Emily lingered. "Mr. Harper, that was really cool," she said, her voice bright, a little shy. "I never thought about Michelangelo like that. Like a strategist, you know?" I smiled, tight, controlled. "Thanks, Emily. You're Lisa's star, right? She talks about you all the time." Her cheeks went pink. "Oh, I don't know about that," she trailed off, laughing softly. "Perfect." She was flattered, already softening. I didn't push, just nodded, said, "Keep up the good work," and left it there. Seed planted. That night, I lay awake next to Lisa, her breathing soft and even. She had no idea, no clue what I was starting. I felt the coldness growing inside me, spreading like frost on glass. This wasn't about love or desire. It was about power. About taking something from her like she'd taken everything from me. Emily was the how, and I was just getting started. I started seeing Emily everywhere after that lecture, or maybe I just noticed her more. She'd be in the university cafeteria when I dropped by to meet Lisa for lunch, or walking across the quad with her sketchbook tucked under her arm. She'd wave sometimes, that shy little smile flashing like she was glad to see me. I'd wave back, keep it light, friendly. I wasn't ready to move yet. Timing's everything in a war like this. Lisa didn't suspect a thing. She was too busy, grading papers, planning lessons, texting Ryan when she thought I wasn't looking. I'd catch her sometimes, her thumbs flying over her phone, a smirk tugging at her lips. It made my blood simmer, but I kept it locked down. Smiled at her over breakfast, asked about her day. "Oh, you know the usual," she'd say, breezy as ever. The usual, right? I needed an excuse to get closer to Emily, something Lisa wouldn't question. Then it hit me, the kids. Ethan and Sophie had art projects coming up for school, and Lisa was always too swamped to help. "Maybe one of your students could tutor them," I suggested one night, casual, flipping through a book I wasn't reading. Lisa looked up from her laptop, surprised. "That's actually a great idea, Dan. I could ask Emily. She's so patient. The kids would love her." I nodded, kept my face neutral. "Sure, if you think she's up for it." Inside, I was grinning. Checkmate. Emily came over that Saturday. Lisa let her in, all warm and maternal, ironic considering. "Dan, you remember Emily, right?" she said, like it was nothing. "Yeah, from the lecture," I replied, shaking Emily's hand. Her grip was soft, hesitant. "Hi, Mr. Harper," she said, eyes flicking up to mine. "Hi, Emily," I said back, letting my voice linger just a beat longer than necessary. Lisa didn't notice. She was already bustling off to get the kids. Ethan and Sophie took to her right away. She sat at the kitchen table with them, markers and paper spread out, laughing as Sophie drew a lopsided dog. I lingered nearby, pretending to grade papers. "You're good with them," I said after a while, leaning against the counter. She glanced up, brushing hair from her face. "Thanks. They're sweet kids." Her smile was genuine, too genuine. It almost made me hesitate. Almost. I started small. Little compliments, little questions. "That's a cool technique," I'd say, nodding at her sketchpad. Or, "Lisa says you've got a real future. How'd you get into art?" She'd blush, ramble about her childhood, her dreams. I listened, nodded, acted interested. And I was, in a way, not in her, but in what she could do for me. Every word she said, every laugh, was another brick in the wall I was building between me and Lisa. By the end of the afternoon, Ethan had a decent castle drawing, and Sophie's dog looked less like a blob. Emily packed up, smiling. This was fun. I'd love to come back if they need me. Lisa clapped her hands together. Oh, absolutely. You're a lifesaver. I walked her to the door while Lisa corralled the kids upstairs. Thanks for today, I said, lowering my voice. You're kind of amazing with them. Her eyes widened just a flicker, then she ducked her head. Oh, thanks, Mr. Harper. She left, and I closed the door, feeling the chill in my chest sharpen. Step 1 complete. Emily started coming over more often. Once a week turned into twice, sometimes just for the kids, sometimes because Lisa invited her to stay for dinner. She's practically family now, Lisa said one night, chopping carrots while Emily giggled with Sophie in the living room. I smirked into my coffee. Family. Sure. If Lisa only knew how I was spinning this, she'd choke on that word. I played my part perfectly. Helpful dad, supportive husband. Always there, always calm. Need anything, Emily? I'd ask, passing her a glass of water or grabbing extra paper for the kids. She'd smile, God, that smile, bright and trusting. No, I'm good, Mr. Harper. Thanks, though. Mr. Harper. She still called me that, all formal and polite. It was almost funny how innocent she was. Almost. I started finding ways to talk to her alone. Small moments, loading the dishwasher while Lisa was upstairs, or walking her to her car after she'd stayed late. You're doing great with them, I'd say, nodding toward the house. Lisa's lucky to have a student like you. She'd beam, soaking it up. She's the best teacher I've ever had. I mean, you both seem so solid, you know? Solid. The word hit me like a slap, but I just chuckled. Yeah, we try. It was easy, too easy, to nudge her closer. I'd ask about her art, her classes, her life. She'd open up, bit by bit. I want to show in a gallery someday, she told me once, leaning against her beat-up Toyota, keys jingling in her hand. Something big, something that makes people feel. I tilted my head like I cared. You've got the talent for it. Lisa's right about you. Her eyes lit up, hooked. I could see it. She liked the attention, the validation. Who wouldn't at 21? Lisa didn't notice a thing. She was too busy with her own mess, sneaking texts to Ryan, slipping out from meetings that lasted too long. I'd watch her leave, her car pulling out of the driveway, and feel that ice in me grow colder. She thought she was clever, hiding it. She wasn't. I'd seen the receipts, dinners, coffee shops, hotel once. Each one was fuel, piling up, waiting for the match. I tested the waters with Emily one evening. She'd stayed late, helping Ethan with a poster for history. Ironic, right? Lisa was out grading papers again. The kids were in bed, and it was just us in the kitchen cleaning up. You're too good for this, you know, I said, wiping down the counter. She looked up, confused. What do you mean? I shrugged, kept it light. Running around after us. You should be out there, living your life, not stuck here with a boring old guy like me. She laughed, shaking her head. You're not boring, Mr. Harper. You're, I don't know, cool. Different. That was the crack I needed. I stepped closer, casual, not too much, just enough to see how she'd react. Careful, I said, smirking. Keep talking like that, and I might think you're flirting. Her face went red, and she stammered, Oh no, I didn't mean. I cut her off with a laugh, waved it away. I'm kidding, Emily. Relax. But I saw it, the flush, the nerves. She wasn't pulling back. Not yet. I didn't feel guilt. Not for her, not for Lisa, not for the kids. This wasn't about them anymore. It was about me. About taking back what Lisa stole. My trust, my pride, my life. Emily was the weapon, and I was sharpening her, slow and steady. The kitchen was quiet when she left that night, but my mind was loud, plotting, turning cold as stone. I started looking forward to Emily's visits. Not because I liked her. Don't get me wrong, this wasn't about feelings. It was the game, the slow twist of the screw. Every time she walked through the door, sketchbook in hand, I felt the pieces sliding into place. She was getting comfortable, too comfortable. And I was making sure of it. Lisa kept leaving gaps, nights out, excuses piling up like dirty laundry. Faculty dinner, she'd say, grabbing her purse. Or, Karen need help with something. A nod, kiss her cheek, watch her go. The kids barely noticed anymore. Ethan glued to his video games, Sophie lost in her books. Perfect. It gave me time. Time with Emily. One night, Lisa was out again, and Emily stayed late, helping Sophie with a diorama this time. Glitter everywhere, glue on the table. I sat across from her, pretending to read, but I was watching. She caught my eye once, smiled. You're quiet tonight, Mr. Harper. I leaned back, stretched. Just thinking. You ever get tired of all this? Running around for other people? She paused, glue stick in hand, and shrugged. Sometimes. But I like it here. You guys are nice. Nice. I almost laughed. Instead, I stood, walked over, picked up a stray feather from the table. You're too kind, Emily. People take advantage of that, you know? I handed her the feather, let my fingers brush hers. Just a second, just enough. She blinked, looked down fast. I guess, she mumbled, tucking the feather into the diorama. Her hand shook a little. Good. I kept pushing, subtle but steady. Dropped comments here and there. Lisa's lucky to have you. Or you're wasted on this little stuff. You're better than that. She'd blush, deflect, but she didn't pull away. I could see it building. Her trust, her ease. She started lingering after the kids went to bed, chatting about school, her art, her life. I'd listen, nod, throw in a smirk or a tease. What's a girl like you doing stuck with an old guy like me? I'd say. She'd laugh, you're not old, Mr. Harper. And the air would shift, just a little. Lisa came home late that night, hair mussed, lipstick faded. Rough day. I asked, voice flat. She sighed, kicked off her shoes. Yeah, you could say that. I didn't push, didn't need to. I knew where she'd been, who she'd been with. The cold inside me flared, sharp and bright. She collapsed on the couch, oblivious, while Emily packed up. See you next week? Emily asked, hopeful. I smiled, tight, controlled. Wouldn't miss it. After she left, I stood in the kitchen, staring at the glitter-streaked table. This was working. Emily was falling into it, into me, without even knowing why. She thought I was safe, some mentor figure, some sad dad she could cheer up. She had no idea I was a trap, jaws open, waiting to snap. And Lisa? She was so wrapped up in Ryan, she didn't see the cliff she was walking toward. I went to bed that night, Lisa snoring beside me, and felt nothing. No anger, no pain, just purpose. Emily was the key, and I was turning it slow and sure. The kids slept down the hall. The house creaked around us, and I lay there, eyes open, plotting the next move. This wasn't about love anymore. It was about winning. I knew I had her, Emily, when she started texting me. It wasn't much at first, just a quick, hey, Mr. Harper, Sophie left her paintbrush at my place. Should I bring it next time? I stare at the message, my phone glowing in the dark while Lisa slept beside me. Opportunity. I texted back, sure, whenever you're free. No rush. Casual, easy. She replied fast, cool, I'll swing by tomorrow. And I set the phone down, a smirk tugging at my lips. The web was tightening. She showed up the next afternoon, paintbrush in hand. No kids around, Ethan at a friend's, Sophie at soccer. Lisa was at the university, prepping for a seminar. Right. I let Emily in, waved her to the couch. You didn't have to come all this way, I said, leaning against the wall, arms crossed. She shrugged, that shy smile flickering. It's no trouble. I was nearby anyway. Nearby. Sure, she was. We talked longer than we should have. I steered it, kept it light at first, her art, her dreams, then shifted. You ever feel like you're wasting time on the wrong people? I asked, watching her over my coffee mug. She frowned, twirling the paintbrush. Sometimes. Like? I don't know people who don't see you. I nodded, slow, deliberate. Exactly. You're too good for that, Emily. Her eyes flicked up, held mine a second too long. There it was, doubt, curiosity. I planted it. I pushed harder over the next week. More texts, how's that gallery dream going? Or kids say hi, they miss you. She'd reply quick, eager, tell them hi back or still working on it, thanks for asking. I throw in a line, something small, you're too special to be stuck here, you know? She'd hesitate then. You think so? Oh, I knew so. She was eating it up, every word pulling her in. Lisa didn't notice. She was a ghost in her own house, Out with Ryan, distracted, blind. One night, she came home late, reeking of wine, and mumbled something about a department thing. I didn't even look up from my book. Sounds fun, I said, voice flat. She didn't catch the edge, she never did. I waited till she was asleep, then texted Emily. You ever feel like people take you for granted? Her reply came at midnight. Yeah, a lot lately. You. I typed back. All the time. Check. The next time she came over, it was just us. No kids, no Lisa, just a quiet house and a storm brewing in me. She sat on the couch, sketching while I graded papers or pretended to. You're quiet again, she said, glancing up. I set my pen down, leaned forward. Just thinking about how people miss what's right in front of them. Her pencil stopped. Like what? She asked, soft and sure. I locked eyes with her. Like you. She froze, mouth parted, cheeks pink. I didn't move, didn't blink, just let it hang there, heavy, electric. Mr. Harper, she started, but I cut her off, voice low. Daniel. Call me Daniel. She swallowed, nodded. Okay. Daniel. The air shifted, sharp, dangerous. I smiled, leaned back like it was nothing. Good. Makes me feel less old. She laughed, nervous, but she didn't leave. She stayed. That was the turn. The moment she crossed the line, my line. She didn't know it yet, but I did. I'd hooked her, reeled her in, and now she was mine to use. Lisa's star, her pride, sitting there calling me Daniel like we were equals, like we were something. The cold in me hummed, alive, vicious. This was it. The real revenge was starting. Emily calling me Daniel, it changed things. It was a door cracking open, and I shoved it wide. She didn't see the shift, not fully, but I did. Every smile, every text, every glance she threw my way was rope, and I was tying it tight around her. Around Lisa. This wasn't a game anymore. It was a hunt. I started meeting her outside the house. Coffee. I'd text casual like it was no big deal. Need a break from grading. Join me? She'd hesitate. Oh, I don't know. Then cave. Okay, sure. The first time, we met at a little place near campus, tucked in a corner where no one from Lisa's world would spot us. She showed up in a sweater, sketchbook under her arm, nervous but bright. This feels weird, she said, stirring her latte. I smirked. What, having coffee with an old guy? She laughed. No, just you're Lisa's husband, you know? And I nodded slow. Yeah, I know. I fed her lines, careful, sharp. You're too talented to stay small. I'd say, watching her sip her drink. Or Lisa's got no idea how lucky she is having you around. She'd blush, deflect. She's the lucky one having you. And I'd let it sit, let her wonder. I didn't push too hard, just enough to keep her off balance, leaning toward me. She started opening up more. About her parents, her doubts, her art. I listened, nodded, stored it all. Every word was ammunition. Lisa was unraveling at home. She'd snap at the kids, forget dinner, disappear for hours. Work's crazy, she'd mutter, avoiding my eyes. I didn't argue, didn't need to. I'd seen a text she forgot to delete. Can't wait to see you, Ryan. The name burned, but I swallowed it, let it fuel me. She thought she was untouchable, juggling her lies. She wasn't. I took Emily to an art exhibit one afternoon, some local thing, small but packed. Thought you'd like this, I said, hands in my pockets as we wandered through. Her eyes lit up, darting over the canvases. This is amazing, Daniel, thank you. She was glowing, alive, and I felt nothing. Just the hum of the plan clicking into place. I bought her a print, something abstract, bold. For your portfolio, I said, handing it over. She hugged me, quick, impulsive, and I let her, my arms stiff but steady. You're the best, she whispered. I smiled. No, just paying attention. That night, I left the print on the counter, where Lisa would see it. She came home late, tossed her keys down for us. What's this? She asked, picking it up. I shrugged, washing a glass. Emily dropped it off. Said it reminded her of your class. Lisa's brow furrowed, but she nodded. Oh, nice. She didn't ask more, didn't suspect. Why would she? I was her boring, predictable Dan. Her fool. Emily texted me later. Today was so fun. You're kind of my hero now. I stared at it, the glow of my phone cutting through the dark. Hero. Funny. I typed back, glad you had fun. You deserve it. She sent a smiley, bright, clueless. I set the phone down, leaned back in my chair. The trap was set, the bait taken. Lisa's star student, her pride, was mine now, wrapped around my finger, ready to break her world. The cold in me wasn't just ice anymore. It was steel, unyielding, razor sharp. One more push, and it'd all come crashing down. I could feel it, the end game. Every move I'd made, every word I'd fed Emily, was a thread pulling tighter. She was in deep now, too deep to see the cliff. And Lisa? She was still dancing around her lies, thinking I was blind. I wasn't. I was ready. Emily started seeking me out. Not just text calls, too. Daniel, you free today? She'd ask, voice light, hopeful. I'd say yes, always yes, meet her at coffee shops, parks, anywhere but home. She'd ramble about her art, her fights with her roommate, her dreams. I'd listen, nod, drop a line, you're too good for all that mess, Emily, and watch her light up. She didn't know she was a pawn. Didn't know I was carving her into a weapon. I turned up the heat. Lisa's been distracted lately, I'd say offhand sipping my coffee. Emily's brow would crease. Really? She seems fine in class, I'd shrug. Guess she hides it well. Work, maybe, or something else. I let it hang, vague, heavy. Emily would fidget, unsure, then change the subject. But I saw its seeds of doubt sprouting. Perfect. At home, Lisa was a storm, short-tempered, scattered. Ethan, clean your room. She'd snap, or Sophie, stop whining. The kids would sulk off, confused, and I'd stay quiet, watching her unravel. She'd leave her phone out sometimes, careless, sloppy. Text from Ryan, miss you, babe. Tonight. I'd screenshot them, save them, say nothing. She thought she was winning her little game. She wasn't. I invited Emily over one night. Lisa out, kids at a sleepover. Thought you could use a quiet place to sketch. I said when she arrived, sketchbook clutched tight. She smiled, nervous, bright. Thanks, Daniel. This is nice. We sat in the living room, me with a book, her with her pencils. The silence was thick, deliberate. I broke it after an hour. You ever wonder what people hide? She looked up, pencil paused. What do you mean? I leaned forward, voice low. Like Lisa. All her late nights. Her meetings. You think she's happy? Emily blinked, uneasy. I don't know. She's my professor, I don't. She trailed off, eyes darting. I pressed. You're smart, Emily. You see things, don't you? She swallowed, nodded slow. Sometimes she seems off, distant. I sat back, satisfied. Yeah, distant. The seed was planted deep now. Emily doubting Lisa, questioning her. Step one. Then I moved. You're different, I said, locking eyes with her. Honest. Real. I like that. Her face went red, hands fumbling her pencil. Daniel, I cut her off, stood, stepped closer. You don't have to say anything. Just thanks for being here. I let my hand rest on her shoulder, brief, firm, then pulled back. She stared at me, wide-eyed, trapped. I should go, she whispered, but she didn't move. Not yet. When she left, I felt it triumph, cold and clean. She was mine, her trust, her loyalty, her everything. Lisa's star, her pride, was tangled in me now, and I was ready to pull the trigger. The blade was falling, and Lisa wouldn't see it till it was too late. I stood in the empty house, the silence ringing, and smiled. This was power. This was revenge. It was time. The pieces were aligned. Emily wrapped around me, Lisa teetering on her lies. I didn't feel joy, didn't feel rage, just a steady, frozen calm. This was the moment I'd built, brick by brick, and I was ready to watch it burn. I set the stage on a Friday. Lisa had plans, another night with Ryan, no doubt. She kissed me goodbye, distracted, her purse swinging as she rushed out. Don't wait up, she called. I didn't answer, just watched her go, the door clicking shut. The kids were at my sister's, perfect. I texted Emily, hey, you free? Could use some company. She replied fast, sure, Daniel. Be there soon. Too easy. She showed up an hour later, hair loose, a nervous smile on her face. Everything okay? She asked, stepping inside. I shrugged, motioned to the couch. Just a long day. Thought you might cheer me up. She sat, hesitant but willing, her sketchbook on her lap. I can try, she said, laughing softly. I smiled, thin, sharp. You always do. We talked small stuff at first, her latest project, my boring lectures. Then I steered it. Lisa's out again, I said, voice flat, staring at my hands. Emily frowned. Another meeting. I snorted, short, bitter. If that's what she's calling it. Her eyes widened, but she didn't push, just waited. I gave it to her. She's been lying, Emily. Months now. Some guy, Ryan. You've seen how she is. Her mouth opened, closed, shock settling in. Ah, I didn't know, she whispered. I nodded. Yeah. Neither did I at first. I stood, paced, let the silence stretch. You're the only one I can talk to about this, I said, turning to her. You get it, you see people. Her face softened, pity, and something else flickering there. Daniel, I'm so sorry. That's awful. I stepped closer, sat beside her, close, not touching. It's fine. I've got you, right? She nodded, quick, eager. Yeah, you do. That's when I made it real. Come here, I said, voice low, and pulled her into a hug, tight, deliberate. She stiffened, then melted into it, her arms wrapping around me. I don't know what I'd do without you, I murmured, letting the words sink in. She pulled back, eyes bright, confused. Daniel, I held her gaze. You're all I've got left. Her breath hitched, and I saw it, trust, loyalty, something deeper. She was mine. I took a photo, nothing big, just us on the couch, her head on my shoulder, smiling. For the memories, I said, grinning. She laughed. You're so cheesy. But she didn't stop me. I sent it to Lisa later that night, no caption, just the image. Let her figure it out. She called an hour later, voice shaking. Dan, what the hell is this? I kept it cool. What's what, Lisa? You tell me. She stammered. Emily? Are you serious? And I cut her off. You've got your fun. I've got mine. I hung up, turned off the phone. Emily left soon after, dazed but happy. See you soon, she asked. I nodded. Yeah, soon. The door closed, and I stood there, alone, the house silent. Lisa's world was cracking. Her student, her pride, turned against her. She'd feel it now, the betrayal, the sting. I didn't cheer, didn't laugh, just sat, staring at the wall, the cold in me humming. This was it. This was victory. Lisa came home that night, late, furious, her key scraping the lock like she wanted to break it. I was on the couch, waiting, the photo still glowing on my phone. She stormed in, face twisted, red raw, nothing like the comm art professor she played. What did you do, Dan? She hissed, throwing her purse down. I didn't flinch, just looked at her, steady blank. What did you do, Lisa? She paced, hands in her hair. Emily? My student. Are you insane? Her voice cracked, high and sharp. I stood, slow, deliberate. You got Ryan. I've got Emily. Fair's fair. She froze, mouth open, then laughed, short, bitter. You're sick. This isn't a game. I stepped closer, voice low. No. You started it, sneaking around, lying to my face. To the kids. You don't get to cry now. She sank onto a chair, hand shaking. I didn't mean. I cut her off. Don't. Just don't. I tossed my phone beside her. The screenshots, Ryan's text, months of proof. She stared at them, silent, tears streaking her face. You ruined us, she whispered. I smirked, cold, final. No, Lisa. You did that. I just made you feel it. The next day, she was gone, packed a bag, left a note, I need space. Space. Funny word for running. The kids came home, confused, Ethan asking, Where's Mom? Sophie clutching her stuffed bear, quiet. I hugged them, said, She's working some things out. We're okay. They nodded, trusting me. They always did. Emily texted later. Everything all right? Last night was a lot. I replied, Yeah, just family stuff. You're good, though. She sent back, I'm good. Here if you need me. I didn't answer, just set the phone down, let it sit. She'd served her purpose. Lisa's pride shattered, her world flipped. I didn't need her anymore. Weeks passed. Lisa called once, voice small. Can we talk? I said, maybe. Later. Hung up. She didn't try again. The house was quieter now. Ethan's games, Sophie's giggles, my lectures filling the space. People asked, neighbors, friends, where's Lisa? I'd shrug. Busy with work. They nod, move on. No one knew. No one needed to. I saw Emily on campus once, waving, smiling, oblivious. I waved back, kept walking. She'd never know what she'd been, my tool, my blade. Lisa did, though. I heard she'd taken a leave from the university. Ryan dumped her, or she dumped him, didn't matter. Her star student had turned on her, and that cut deeper than anything. I'd won. I sit here now, kids asleep upstairs, the maple tree outside bare from winter. The cold in me hasn't thawed. It's part of me, hard and still. I don't regret it, not Lisa's tears, not Emily's trust, not a single move. She betrayed me, broke our life, and I broke hers back. Fair's fair. I sip my coffee, stare at the wall, and feel nothing. Just the echo of victory, quiet in mine.